I'm 35, regret leaving my wife F29 at the airport. My wife got a new job where she started making several times what she was making before. I was incredibly happy for her since this was her first time making six figures. I've been making six figures for several years now and have funded most of our lifestyle. She had a history of putting me down, but as soon as she started making more money, it amplified considerably. She'd criticize everything I would do, and nothing I did seemed to be right in her eyes. As an example, we'd go on several trips a year, at least one international and a few domestic, which I've always fully paid for. Although we travel more than most people, she said that she wasn't satisfied because I never flew her first class. Although we stay in nice hotels, clean and safe 4-star hotels, she said they were never Instagram worthy. She'd often compare our life to influencers, and I'd have to remind her that what she sees on social media is not real. We went on a vacation along with her parents and sister. On the last day, we visited a few sites and we began the several-hour trip to the airport. Everyone slept while I drove the family around. We flew back home, and as soon as we deplaned, she started yelling at me on the concourse. She said so-and-so's husband is doing X for their wife and demanded to know why I'm not doing the same for her. She kept yelling at me as we made our way through the terminal. It was all just one big blur. As soon as we got landside, I suggested I get the car from the parking garage while she grabs the checked-in luggage. I see her waiting by the door, and I pulled up as far as I could before I got to the handicap loading zone. She was yelling at me to move closer, and it didn't matter because it was late at night. Although no one was around, it still doesn't sit with me right to park in a handicap loading zone. She was mad and came up to the car and started yanking on the door handles. She dropped something in the car and went back for the luggage that was about 30 feet away. I was getting out to load the bags into the trunk. She yelled something at me and something in me snapped. I told her I was not going to put up with this anymore and told her to call an Uber home as I drove off. As I was leaving the airport, I had a change of heart and decided to turn around and pick her up. I came back to the terminal and she wasn't there anymore. I checked Find My, and it looked like she was moving along with the AirTags in our luggage, so I assumed she must have gotten an Uber home. I come home and see a taxi in front of our home. It turned out she left her purse and phone in the car while she went to go back for the luggage. She said it was some miracle from God that she found a taxi driver willing to drive her home without her wallet or phone, and that it was a sign for her to leave me. She moved out 2 weeks later and ultimately filed for divorce. I still think about that night. I question myself if things would have been different if I just kept my cool. I have lost my partner, but I am in a state of peace that I haven't been in a long time. How do I stop reliving that moment? I have since taken several trips through that airport and relive that incident every time. I've taken several flights since the incident, and every time I pass by the area where this happened, the bottlenecked exit out of airside, I am reminded of what happened. Sorry for the confusion. Told her I snapped and left my wife at the airport. It was the straw that made her leave and file for divorce.